I don't want people, I don't want you guys to have to pay to watch me fight. I don't want your money. I make enough money. I do not want your money. I'd rather see 10 million, 14 million. I'd rather get 20 million viewers on a network like CBS than to take the fans and entice them to pay for my fight.
What's going on, G Funky Boxing? Make sure you hit the like button on the way in. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. HCP, what's good? See, I got a few people here. Team Batman, Chauncey, the boxing historian, CCS. What's going on, guys? Thanks for joining me. This is not going to be a long live. I don't have a whole lot of time, but I wanted to come on here and talk about this as we get closer and closer to the big giant pay-per-view that's coming up this Saturday. Get this smoke. What's going on, man? Northern California in the house. What's up, man? Anyway, yes, that was a clip from Keith Thurman from 2016. I believe probably on a press conference for the fight with Sean Porter. As we all know, that fight was on CBS network television for free, and it was a damn good fight. He says the can man Thurman. Oh man. Chauncey Pearl says, yeah, this is not. Yeah, it's not, man. It's not. Cali Kings, that's right, baby. Now look, I want to give a shout out to my boy Calix Boxing 2.0. If you guys aren't subscribed to Calix Boxing, subscribe to him. But he made a short video on Twitter yesterday, and he made some really good points. And there's people who are saying that, you know, if you don't pay for this fight, you're not a real boxing fan. That's what people are saying. Some people are saying that, you know, the ones who say that they're watching but not paying are full of it. Even if it was a worthy fight, they still wouldn't pay for it, right? Now, look, here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to speak for myself, and I think I could speak for the real hardcore fans out there. Logic, what's going on, man? If it's a good fight, we'll pay for it. That's what I think, man. Logic says the problem is not pay-per-view worth pay-per-view. It's lead the people to becoming more comfortably illegal to stream fights in the future. Now, I hear what you're saying, man. I hear what you're saying. But I'll say this for myself, off the ropes, Puerto Rican rum. What's going on, guys? Chauncey Pro says, but what do? We are true boxing fans. We are gonna. I'm telling you right now, I'm not purchasing this fight. And I've purchased a lot of pay-per-view over the years, man. I can show you guys, believe me. Like, I'm not one of these guys that just says that. Like, when I buy pay-per-view, I keep it on my DVR to go back and watch because I do predictions. So I want to go back and watch these fights. Look at them, see what happens, study them so I could come up with my prediction, the outcome, right? So I have all these fights that I bought. Now, I just moved into this house that I'm at now at the start of this pandemic, 2020. So there's not going to be a whole lot of pay-per-views like I had in my last house. I had a ton of them, you know? And I have just about every pay-per-view except for the last couple months of this year. You know, I bought them all, man. Because I don't need his advice on how to spend it. Hey, man, look, and I'm not trying to tell any. I don't know if you're talking to me or not. Get this smoke, but you know, I understand. I'm not trying to tell people how to spend their money. What's going on, Haplo? I'm not trying to tell people what to do with their money. None of that. If you feel good with buying this fight, spending the $75 for this fight, look, go right ahead. But my problem is this with it. This is my problem. Is boxing is doing this rob Peter to pay Paul method. And that's something that I'm not okay with because I am a paying customer. I am a paying customer. Stream Central. Yeah, man. Cholo Trucker, what's going on, man? He says, in reality, these are some pretty good fights, but for 75, Thurman versus Barrios, I'm not buying. No, I'm right there with you, man. Oh yeah, I know, man. Crazy, huh? Crazy stuff. Appler says, I'm not buying it. Yeah, I'm not buying this either, man. I'm not going to. I'll watch it, but I'm not gonna buy it. This would be a damn good fight to go back on CBS. Fox, FS1. You know what I'm saying? Perfect fight for that. But you're narrowing the audience when you continue to put people on pay-per-view. Now look, let me say this, okay? The PBC, they like to use, some people might not like what I'm going to say this, but this is the way I feel about it. I'm sure some of you will agree that they like to use the Mexican names to try to sell pay-per-views, right? And if that's what they want to do, look, that's fine, because again, we, the Mexican community, we buy tickets, we buy pay-per-views, you know what I'm saying? We do that. But in this case with Mario Barrios, they want to use his name to sell the pay-per-views. That's the way that I feel about it, right? But how are you gonna how are you selling a guy who's got a Spanish last name to the Mexican community, and he's a Mexican himself? He calls himself the Aztec Warrior, stuff like that. This guy, his last 3 fights have been on pay-per-view. Mario Barrios, that is. His last 3. He fought on the undercard of Tank versus Santa Cruz. The next time he fought Tank Davis on pay-per-view. Now he's fighting Keith Thurman on pay-per-view. This is 3 fights in a row that he's been on pay-per-view. So how is he getting exposure? And it's not like these pay-per-views that he was on were massive. They're not. And this one here is not going to do very good. Get This Smoke says Keith and Danny did $5 million on CBS. I mean, network television, it would do great, this fight, I think. But my point is, they've put Barrios on pay-per-view now 3 fights in a row. So how do they expect most casuals to know who he is? Like, nobody's buying these pay-per-views that he's on. Off the road, I wouldn't buy it if it was $29.99, and I wouldn't even buy it for 25 cents like a pack of gum used to be, like Keith Thurman said the other day. This is not a good method for boxing. Rob Peter to pay Paul. They want to rob us to pay these guys. And Thurman said it himself in that video clip I just played. He said, I don't want your money. I make enough money. I want viewers. So, I mean, has it changed since then? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, guys, look, here's the thing. These people come on here and say, like, look, we want our fighters to get paid. Of course. I mean, they're not fighting for free, are they? I don't think they're fighting for free. Last I checked. So, like, I don't understand where this is coming from. These are high-paid athletes at the end of the day. So they're getting paid a lot of money to fight, man. The problem is they get greedy and they want us to cover the bill. That's what's going on here. This is just my opinion. And I'm not going to pay money for a fight like this. Both these guys just lost their last fight. Barrios was just knocked out by Davis at 140 pounds. Keith Thurman. Now look, I like Keith Thurman. I've been on record saying that. I like him. I enjoy his fights. I do. I think he's a very talented guy. But this guy just lost his last fight to Manny Pacquiao, and that was in 2019. It's 2022. And he's finally coming back, and he's coming back on pay-per-view. A lot of you guys know how many shows D-Style and I have done together. Over 200 shows, dating all the way back to 2019. And the funny thing is, the very first show we did together on his channel was a prediction show for Manny Pacquiao versus Keith Thurman. Let that one sink in. That's how long it's been since this guy's been out of the ring. And now he's coming back. Yes, Nettie's on the card, he lost. Santa Cruz is on the co-feature, he lost. William Phillips, PBC don't have the dates and the pockets to pay what Thurman and Leo Santa Cruz demands. I mean, yeah, and they want us to pay for it. What's going on, Toby? Puerto Rican Rum, be honest, I'm not going to buy most pay-per-views fights from now on. Only fights I will buy are truly big fights. And that's the way it should be. Because only true big fights should be on pay-per-view, man. We need legit superstars. And right now, we only got one. And that's Canelo. Whether you like him or not, he's the biggest name in combat sports. That's all combat sports. That includes MMA. No one's bigger than him right now, currently. And even his numbers aren't what they should be. But he's doing better than everybody else. Yeah, I mean, I agree with this as well. Get this smoke. You know, whenever you feel like it's worthy for you to pay for it, do what you got to do. I'm just talking about the overall health of the sport. And I don't think that putting fights on pay-per-view just to put them on pay-per-view, just to get these guys more money, I don't think that that's sustainable for a sport that's already in the fucking toilet, like boxing. This is not going to help. What's going on, Black and Brown? I mean, the 5 million people who saw Thurman fight Sean Porter for free on CBS. I mean, I don't know how many of them know who he is anymore. They even remember him. The casuals, that is. Because the guy's been on pay-per-view ever since then, and then he's been gone for like 2 years. Let's see. Chauncey says, G-Funk, do we know how much pay-per-view buys will affect Thurman and Barrios' purse as opposed to free TV, numbers-wise? How much more or less they make if it was free? Or, I mean, look, I don't know, to be honest with you. I'm not the biggest guy when it comes to purses and business side. I'm just not. But I know this from the clip I played at the beginning of this stream where Thurman said he makes enough money and that he doesn't need to be on pay-per-view. I believe him. And look, if we get more exposure to these guys, right? Get these boxers more exposure out there to the casuals. Put them on the network shows, right? The FS1s, the Fox, the CBS, the ESPNs. All these platforms that are easy for casuals to get to, right? All those channels I just named off are with your basic cable, satellite, whatever it is that you have. It's basic, you know? So it's easy for casuals to see it. And that's why I was really happy with the PBC at first, because they had a lot of shows and they had, you know, their big name guys on network television. My grandfather, who got me into boxing, was still alive at the time. He was able to watch it because, you know, he didn't have all these channels. He didn't want to know how to work all that other nonsense. You know, it was easy for him. So that made me happy. But then they started, everything's got to be pay-per-view, you know, and like, I'm not a fan of it. I'm sorry. And and I don't want nobody coming here talking about, oh, G Funk, you're not helping the sport. Like, I paid for a lot of pay-per-view, guys. A lot. A lot. Cholo Trucker says it's hard to build a new superstar if you keep hiding them on pay-per-view. They need to get exposure on regular TV. Man, that is the truth, the truth right there, man. And look, I'll tell you this, Chauncey. The reason why I'm saying that I'm boycotting the fight as far as purchasing it is because I want to hurt these guys' bottom line. I want to hurt their bottom line. This way they can do things for the fans. If we continue to support these type of pay-per-views, that's not gonna they're gonna continue to do it. It has to stop. It's gotta stop, man. The fights need to be built the right way. I remember the guys that worked at HBO were talking about how, pay-per-view is not the way to go. It's just not. They say it's a big economic issue. I can tell you that pay-per-view, um, I can't tell you that it helps the sport because it doesn't. This is Greenberg from HBO when HBO was still covering boxing. This is what he said. That's what he said. It narrows the audience. It doesn't help the sport, man. And I want to say this, man, to the boxing fans. You guys have done a tremendous job lately of not buying these bad cards on pay-per-view. Look at the last couple of pay-per-views we've had. Davis versus Cruz. Not a pay-per-view fight. It's just not a pay-per-view fight. It didn't even do 100,000 buys. My source told me it did around 40K. Reported numbers were around, I think, 50 or something like that. The King Kong Ortiz versus Charles Martin did like 20 or less than 20K. These pay-per-views aren't even generating 100,000 buys, guys. Because we had no stars. It has some effect, but at least Mayweather was a huge star. You know what I'm saying? So you could kind of justify him being on pay-per-view more often than not. I mean, I think he sold over 1 million with Robert Guerrero, Victor Ortiz. I mean, those guys weren't big names, but Mayweather carried, he carries a big fan base back then. So Boxing Historian says this pay-per-view is going to do 21K easy. Maybe. The Year of Killing pay-per-view. Look, I'm right there with you, man. And Calix, he said the same thing on his video that he put on Twitter. He said, I hope every single pay-per-view this year fails. And I'm right there with you, man. Unless it's a fight that's worthy of pay-per-view. And there's only a few. Guys, can we really think about what two guys right now in the sport could we put together and have close to 1 million buys on pay-per-view? I don't know if there is two that can hit 1 million right now. I could tell you one that I would buy personally. Some of you might agree, some might not. But if that Crawford Spence fight happens, I'm buying that. Or if Ugas gets the win, Ugas Crawford, I think that's a good fight as well. Puerto Rican Rum. Imagine if you could only see LeBron or Curry on pay-per-view. The NBA would be out of business. All the other major sports as well. I mean, look at the Super Bowl. It's the most watched sporting event in this country and probably the world. And it's free. The entire playoffs is free. The entire season is free. They make money somehow. Sponsorship, right? If you're Usyk, I don't know if I would. I mean, maybe. Chauncey says he would gladly buy Spence versus Crawford. SSC says Canelo versus Charlo would do pretty good. I'm hoping that it does. I mean, Charlo's got a little bit of a name. I think it would do good tickets-wise, depending on where they put it, you know? We've seen Canelo do good numbers in Texas against Billy Joe Saunders. Charlo's from Texas. It would sell a lot of tickets. I don't know about pay-per-views, though. Show Me says, I'm buying the welterweight undisputed. I am too. Boxing Historian, WWE pay-per-view events are on Peacock now. Yeah, if you get the network, it's free with the network if you pay for it. Yes, it would be huge in Texas, man. And I like that fight. Is it pay-per-view though? No. And even though you guys know I'm a big guy on Undisputed, even the Canelo Plant fight to me was not worthy of pay-per-view because nobody knows who the fuck Plant was. It's got to be two names that the casuals know that people are willing to pay per view. There's a demand there. There's no demand for Thurman versus Barrios. There's just not. Now, if you're a fan of Thurman and you want to support him, hey, that's all good. Go ahead. Go right ahead. But what I'm saying is that these type of pay-per-views, they're not good for the sport. They're just not. The Crawford-Porter fight, which I think was a very good fight, very important fight for the welterweight division right now, that was not a pay-per-view fight. I did not purchase that fight. And I like Crawford a lot. But it's time to take a stand, guys. It's time. And we got to build legit stars in order for this sport to grow the way that it should be, to get it back to the days of when it was a big sport, you know? I mean, maybe, you know. But I mean, again, they still have CBS. I know that CBS owns Showtime, I believe, last time I checked, but I'm not quite sure. Again, like I said, I don't really get involved in the business too much, but this is just my perspective, man. You know what I'm saying? Andreas, what's up, man? Good to see you back. But it's a problem, man. All these pay-per-views with mediocre matchups, it's a problem in the sport, man. And it's time that we put boxing first, man. Let's put our fandom aside, okay? You could still be a fan. I'm a fan of Thurman. I like Thurman's style. I think he's a very good fighter, man. He's got good speed. He can box, good power. But I'm not going to pay for this. Did I pay for his fight against Pacquiao? Yes, because I feel like that was a good matchup. But still, I don't even know if that could be considered a real pay-per-view, you know, because Thurman, I don't know. Yeah, you might be right. Get the smoke. And I think that there's a lot of other issues going on with the NFL that's hurting their numbers as well. But that's a whole nother video. But I think you might know what I'm getting at when I say that. But yeah, guys, it's time to put boxing first, man. Okay. Back when I was younger, I was a big Felix Trinidad fan. Before that, Julio Cesar Chavez. But at the time, I wasn't old enough to buy pay-per-views, you know? But if those guys are fighting today and they're putting trash fights on pay-per-view with them headlining the bill, like, I wouldn't buy it. I'm sorry, I just wouldn't at this point because boxing needs stars right now. It's desperate for stars. And we can't build stars by keeping them on pay-per-view, man. Especially when these pay-per-views can't even break 100,000 buys. That's pretty sad. That's pretty damn sad. So we have to put boxing first, man. Let's stop, these bad pay-per-views, stop buying them. And we're already doing a good job of that lately. Even the circus clown of boxing, even his pay-per-view did bad with all his little teenagers that are his fans, right? That didn't even break 100,000. So let's continue the streak. Let's continue the trend and put boxing first. That's the new hashtag I'm rolling with. Hashtag boxing first. Let's make stars again. Let's make huge mega pay-per-views like when the heavyweights were at the top. Tyson versus Lewis did like close to 2 million. Both Tyson Holyfield fights over 1 million. Trinidad De La Hoya over 1 million. Floyd Mayweather he was doing over 1 million with guys like Marquez, Guerrero, Ortiz, Mosley. We know he did over 2 million with Canelo and Oscar. Because those were mega fights with mega stars. And we don't have mega stars to match up right now. We don't. And it's because these guys are being hidden on pay-per-view all the time, man. It's got to end. It's got to end. The last fight you fought was a Triple G, and that was a really good fight. Really good fight. One of my favorite fights in the past 5 years. I didn't want to buy the Plant fight, but I didn't have any other means to watch it, so I did buy it. But to me, it was just not a pay-per-view. Plant's a fucking nobody. Yeah, he had a belt. Yeah, it was for Undisputed, but what kind of name does he carry? Nothing. Pay-per-view is for two guys that are big names. You put them on, people will be willing to buy it. And it's getting there that makes them superstars, gets people to watch, gets the casuals to watch. Got to build them the right way. So that's what I'm hoping for, guys. But look, this video here, like I said, it's not going to be long. I don't have a whole lot of time these days. So I just want to come on here and give my opinion. If you guys want to call me not a real boxing fan because I'm not buying this pay-per-view Saturday, go right ahead. But in my opinion, I think it's for the better that that a majority of us don't do it. Stop the rob Peter to pay Paul method in boxing. Stop robbing the fans. Without us, there is no sport. So it's about time you give us what we need. And what we need are stars and big matchups. Build super fights. Build super fights. That's what we need. And that's how we get the sport back to where it used to be. All right. So I want to thank all you guys for being here. Don't forget to hit my like button if you haven't done that already. If you're new to the channel, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know anytime that I do go live, which is pretty random these days, or drop a video. Make sure you do that. Hashtag keep it boxing. Hashtag boxing first. Hashtag HCP, the home of real boxing talk. G Funky Boxing is out.